Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon for an informative and exciting webinar to discover the latest news on American cruise lines. My name is Johanna de Guzman. I'm the Manager of Industry Relations for North American Travel Trade Membership here at CLIA, and I'm going to quickly go through some housekeeping before introducing our presenter. The webinar will run for about 40 to 45 minutes with time for questions at the end. Please feel free to type your questions into the questions module of the webinar, and we will get to them at the conclusion of the presentation. This webinar is being recorded and will be posted on CLIA's YouTube channel, CLIA Global. It is my pleasure to introduce our speaker, Melissa Young. Melissa is the Director of Business Development for American Cruise Lines, America's leading and most awarded domestic cruise line. She joined the company in 2023 to lead the travel industry sales team. She has extensive experience in the travel industry, having previously served as the North American Director of Sales for the Red Carnation Hotels, where she represented the company's collection of award-winning luxury boutique hotels and developed strategic partnerships with various distribution channels. Melissa is passionate about growing sales with travel advisors, fortifying trade partnerships, and cultivating exciting new collaborations. And with that, take it away, Melissa.
Thank you, Joe. Hi, everyone. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us here. We have so much news to share at American Cruise Lines. We're having an incredible year. We're seeing a lot of demand for cruising close to home. We have new ships coming, new itineraries, new extensions you can add on. So there's a lot to share. I thought I would start by giving a brief overview for those of you who may not be so familiar with American Cruise Lines. I think it's important to note that American Cruise Lines is family owned and operated, in business now for more than 50 years. Our founder traded his car for a boat to operate day trips on the Connecticut River. And here we are 50 years later, the largest and most awarded domestic cruise line in the United States. Another important fact is that we build our ships in Salisbury, Maryland, at a shipyard that we own called Chesapeake Shipbuilding. This enables us to build ships to spec. So we really focus on what the ship should be like in order to deliver the best possible experience for our guests. Another wonderful thing to know about us is that we employ American citizens. All of our crew are Americans. Our ships are designed, built, and flagged in the good old US of A. And this is something that our guests love. When they come on board, our warm and hospitable crew wears name tags with their name and then their hometown listed on it. So it really fosters some fun and interesting conversation between our guests and our crew. Another important thing to note is that we are elevating domestic small ship cruising. In 2023, we won just about every award under the sun. There were too many for me to list here, but I just wanted to draw your attention to one of my personal favorites, and that's the Cruise Critic Award you see here. In 2023, Cruise Critic awarded our ship, American Serenade, as the best new river ship for 2023. And this is the picture of American Serenade you see here. But really what makes it significant is that it was the first time ever that this award, Best New River Ship, was given to an American vessel. And that's something that we're very proud about. So while I wish we can go aboard all these ships, there are 19 of them sailing the rivers, coasts, and waterways of the United States. While I wish we could do a fantastical fam trip, I think the next best thing is for me to show you this video that gives you a real sense of what it's like sailing America's waterways. So please note, there aren't a lot of ships on the water, the beautiful scenery, and the beautiful decor of the ships. And so I'm just going to cue up this video. an impression of what it's like to sail the beautiful waterways of the US. And I hope also it drove home the point that so many people think of just the Mississippi and the Columbia and Snake Rivers. And those are certainly among our most popular cruises, but we do so much more than that. We have over 50 unique itineraries that touch 35 different states, from the Northeast to the Mid-Atlantic to the Southeast, and of course the Northwest and Alaska. So really so many options for your clients who will sail with us once, love it so much, they'll want to keep exploring, and there are so many options for them to do that with us. We have 4 different classes of ships. We have our coastal cruise ships that sail the oceans of the Northeast and the Northwest. Then we have our beautiful coastal cats that are brand new. American Eagle and American Glory were launched in 2023. And this year in 2024, we're going to be welcoming American Liberty in August and American Legend in November. These coastal cats have 55 cabins, hold 109 guests, and could virtually go anywhere, navigating shallow water and calling on ports of call that other cruise lines simply cannot. Our paddle wheelers and our modern riverboats can be found on the Mississippi River and its tributaries and the Columbia and Snake River. The paddle wheelers are perfect for your clients who want that little bit of nostalgia, who want to feel as if they step back to a time gone by and enjoy the river by paddle wheelers. And so we have 2 of them on the Mississippi. We have American Splendor and American Heritage. And then on the Columbia and Snake Rivers, that's home to American Pride and American West. Our modern river boats are similar to the river ships you see in Europe that sail the Danube or the Seine. We have 3 of these beautiful, modern, luxurious boats, 3 of them on the Mississippi. That would be American Harmony, American Song, and American Jazz. I'm sorry, those are on the Columbia and Snake Rivers. On the Mississippi, it's Melody, Symphony, and Serenade. So we really do have something to match all of your clients' needs and so many wonderful regions of the country to explore. So you might be wondering, once you're on board, what does it feel like to sail with us? Well, our cabins look and feel like hotel rooms. They are spacious. We have the largest cabins on the smallest ships. All of our cabins, if they have a balcony, which is the vast majority of them, it is a private balcony. They range in size from 200 square feet to 650 square feet. As you can see, this is a king bed. It can be twinned, so it's perfect for a mother-daughter trip or 2 friends traveling together. Also want to note that we have single staterooms at single fares. These are among our most popular, so if you're planning on booking for a solo client of yours, be sure to do that early. One of my favorite things is the beautiful view you have from these large sliding glass doors. And then what you see here on the other side, there's a writing desk. There's also the most fabulous mirror with perfect lighting, so it can be used as a dressing table. And if you zoom in on some of the details, you'll see the bedside lamps have USB ports for charging small devices and electrical outlets. So the space is highly functional, designed so that our guests can feel at home, they can relax and enjoy everything the ship has to offer. Our bathrooms are equally as spacious. Really, they're like full-size, well-appointed bathrooms you might find in a hotel, complete with walk-in showers. When it comes to dining, really important to note that we can accommodate all of our guests on board the ship in one sitting. With other cruise lines, your clients may be assigned an early sitting or a late sitting, and perhaps the early sitting's a little too early or the late's a little too late. Here, an evening on board generally starts in our lounge with a cocktail party and hors d'oeuvres, and our guests are usually mingling, sharing stories from the day's excursions and activities. And then when they're ready to make their way to the dining room to eat, the dining room is certainly ready for them. We also use this space for a la carte breakfast and lunch. We don't do any buffets. Everything is table service. And there are other options on many of our ships as well. Our back porch cafe that offers more casual fare. We do a very simple early risers buffet breakfast in our lounge that would include juices and coffees and bagels and smoked salmon and croissants and cereals and things like that. When it comes to food, it's simply delicious. It is locally sourced, but regionally inspired. So to give you an example, if you were sailing with us in Chesapeake Bay, the crab capital of the world, you could rest assured that crab would certainly feature on the menu. So we do try to take inspiration from the regions that we're visiting. Otherwise, I would describe the food as being a nice variety of American fare. We can also accommodate all sorts of dietary restrictions and special requests. This is done through our guest portal once a booking is confirmed. Your clients will have access to list their guest preferences, and they could list any food allergies or any dietary restrictions. In terms of the vibe of the dining room and the vibe of the ship, we are going for a country club atmosphere. So it's not overly fancy. There are no formal nights. It's a simple sophistication, delicious cuisine, a nice cozy comfort, beautiful coastal contemporary decor. In the evenings, your clients will not be bored with us, that's for sure. We will keep them well entertained with lively onboard entertainment. This could range from interactive lecturers to musical performances that would bring history, nature, and culture to life. We really strive to tell the stories of America on the finest American ships. So what we do is we would have a resident musician travel with us, and then we would bring on small acts, step on entertainment at our various ports of call. My favorite spot on the ship is the sun deck. You would find me drinking a white wine spritzer on one of these chaise lounges, watching the world slowly float by. I mentioned earlier that not a lot of ships are cruising the waterways of the US. So really, it's your clients and the great natural beauty that is right in front of them. This is perfect for guests to unwind, if they're interested in bird watching or to connect with friends after a busy day's activities. We also have some a walking track for guests that want to keep active and get their steps in, as well as a small exercise room, a fitness room on each of our ships. So after all the wonderful food they're going to be eating, they can keep fit while they're with us. Just about everything is included in the cruise fare, like port charges and taxes and fees, as well as top shelf cocktails. All alcoholic beverages are included. We don't distinguish between top shelf or not. Of course, all the cuisine is included. We do offer a self-service laundry capability. We even provide the Tide Pods for that. Our ships have libraries with computer stations. Wi-Fi is included. We work with Starlink for our Wi-Fi. And of course, all the onboard entertainment and enrichment programs also included, as well as gratuities. So the only possible thing your clients could maybe spend a few more dollars on are if they choose to do some extra excursions that are not included in their cruise fare. And I'm going to just get into exactly how those excursions work. So included in our cruise fare, complimentary for all guests, are our featured excursions. We then offer premium excursions, and these range from $10 to $95, and they are bookable through the guest portal ahead of the cruise, a couple months ahead of the cruise. Your clients will get an email saying excursions have opened up, and they can go in there and they can see all the descriptions, the times, the dates, and pick and choose what they might like to do. We don't charge them until they disembark at the last day of their cruise, because there is some wiggle room to move around. If they decide they don't want to do that horse-drawn carriage ride, we won't charge them for something that they didn't do. When it comes to signature excursions, these are limited in availability and usually you are required to have a reservation. So, for example, we offer a seaplane ride over the Dry Tortugas on our Florida Gulf Coast and Keys cruise. So this is something you can understand would require a reservation to be booked and paid for in advance. So that's an example of a signature excursion. Now, we do offer a complimentary pre-night at a centrally located hotel for cruises on the Mississippi River, the Columbia and Snake Rivers, and cruises departing out of Juneau, Alaska. In addition to that complimentary pre-night is a transfer to the ship the morning of embarkation. On cruises in other parts of the country, aside from the Columbia Snake, Mississippi, and Juneau, we do offer a pre-package that guests can purchase. So we tend to work with the Four Seasons hotels wherever possible for those. We do offer, and this is a fantastic offer, we do offer flat rate domestic air. So for the lower 48 states, we charge $495 flat free for domestic air. So if you're flying from New York to Seattle to do our Puget Sound and San Juan Islands, $495 per person flat rate, which is a tremendous deal. This is our air program is something we subsidize, so I highly recommend your clients taking advantage of that. It is economy air at an airline of our choosing, but we do work with excellent airlines, and we do send a proposed itinerary as well in advance for you to review before those tickets get confirmed. Another exciting promotion we have just as of late, this is sort of brand new and hot off the presses, is we are offering a complimentary pre-night at a Four Seasons hotel, including breakfast on select cruises. So these are on specific cruises and on specific dates nonetheless. And the best thing to do is to call our cruise specialists at our call center and ask them about it. The cruises that it's available on are our lower Mississippi cruises that start in New Orleans, because it's the Four Seasons in New Orleans that we're using. That would be a historic Mississippi, complete Mississippi, and lower Mississippi. And the other cruises it's available on is our New England Explorer and Grand New England cruises that are out of Boston. So, and these are subject to availability. We do have this still available. I was checking just before I came on this webinar, but do things move as people come in? We only have so many rooms, they get booked up, it's done. But if this is something you have a client would really appreciate, a complimentary night at a Four Seasons hotel with breakfast in the morning and a transfer to the ship the morning of embarkation, this is a nice perk that you can offer. These are some of our most popular cruises I thought I would just highlight. I'm not going to talk about every cruise. There's simply too many to get into all the details, but I was going to focus on our most popular cruises and then on what's new and exciting. So our lower Mississippi is the most popular cruise. It's the iconic, legendary Mississippi, where so many people start their river cruising career, so to speak, where they start sailing. And it's either from New Orleans to Memphis or the reverse, from Memphis to New Orleans. And we have some promotions on for the fall of this year, as well as for spring next year. And spring is a wonderful time to visit this region. You'll avoid some of the humidity, the temperatures are a little more mild, it's not quite touristy yet, and you get to see beautiful spring unfolding. So if you have clients interested in the lower Mississippi, I would like to suggest the early spring, March, April, as a wonderful time to visit this area, and certainly also for the holidays as well. November, December, really beautiful to see this part of the world decorated for the holidays. The upper Mississippi is stunning from a landscape perspective, rolling green fields. On this trip from Minneapolis, St. Paul down to St. Louis, we visit the childhood home of Mark Twain in Hannibal, Missouri, among so many other destinations before ending in St. Louis. Of course, we take our guests up the Gateway Arch. Another one that's really popular is our Ohio River Cruise from Pittsburgh to St. Louis, or the reverse. Pittsburgh is a lovely city with a lot of art and culture. There's the Andy Warhol Museum that's there, Frank Lloyd Wright building to check out. We also stop in places like Cincinnati, where we visit the Underground Railroad Freedom Museum, which is such an important part of our history. Louisville, the Derby was last weekend. We take our guests to the Derby Museum, and they have a tour of the Derby, and it's fascinating, steeped in history, from the mint juleps to all the pomp and ceremony. There's really so much interesting history and food and drink along this entire river cruise. Paducah, we go to a wonderful quilting museum there that our guests just enjoy, and then ending in St. Louis. The Columbia and Snake Rivers is another very popular cruise after the Mississippi. Columbia Snake, just beautiful topography, beautiful change in landscape from the West Coast as you move inland, and following the trail of Lewis and Clark. Now, without getting into all the details, just wanted to sort of do a little overview of the Northeast region. We have several itineraries in the Northeast. You can see here that we do the Hudson River from New York City up to Albany and back. We've done this for fall foliage, and it's always sold out. We've added it now as a summer cruise. And for those of you that know your history, you'll know that the original summer vacation destination for wealthy New Yorkers in the 1800s was up in the Hudson Valley. So here we go to Sleepy Hollow, famous for the tale of the Headless Horseman. We visit the West Point Military Academy. We go to Hyde Park, which is the family home of President Roosevelt. Fascinating story there. You have all the beautiful scenery of the Catskills, before ending or reaching the state capital of Albany, and then coming back down to New York. We also have the harbor hopping in New England, from Providence, Rhode Island to Martha's Vineyard, Nantucket, Block Island. These are places that if your clients have been to before, you know, it's type of places you can go to every year, and people do every year go to these places and never get bored of them. Or perhaps they did them one at a time, or they did them by car and ferry, and this way they can do it sleeping on a ship, like a maritime adventure, and arriving by water to all these places. We also do Maine coast and harbors, and have lots of options up in the Northeast for your clients to consider. In the Southeast, we sail the entire Intracoastal Waterway from Washington, D.C. all the way down to Florida, or you can pick a segment of it if you like. We sail Chesapeake Bay. We do an American Revolution themed cruise, which is in and out of Washington, D.C., sails past Mount Vernon. You could visit George Washington's tomb. It goes to historic Williamsburg, Jamestown, Yorktown. So really interesting for your clients that know about American history, but maybe they haven't visited these locations like this in a purposeful way. So this American Revolution cruise is incredible. We operate it in the spring. And for next spring, you could align it so that you're in DC while the cherry blossoms are in full bloom, which could be icing cherry on top of the cake, so to speak. Excuse the pun. Another cruise that's really wonderful, especially for people wanting to escape the cold weathers of the Northeast and the Midwest in the winter months, is sailing between Charleston, South Carolina, and Amelia Island, Florida, on our historic historic South and Golden Isles cruise. And we visit Charleston, Beaufort, Hilton Head, Savannah. We go to St. Simon's Island and Jekyll Island, and we see all the beautiful Victorian homes that were once the playground of wealthy New Yorkers to come and spend the winter season somewhere warm. And I'm going to get into some of our new cruises right now that also touch in this region. We started this in January of this year, and they sold out. We are sailing now the Florida Gulf Coast and Keys from St. Petersburg to Key West. We stop in Punta Garda, Marco Island, in Key West, right at Mallory Square, and with an optional excursion over to the Dry Tortugas. So this was so popular, we're adding a ship next year. There are these, it's these coastal cats I pointed out, these small ships, 55 cabins, 109 guests. So, you know, really a special experience to be on a small ship like this, small ports of call. And so it could be a great option for your clients wanting to escape the cold next winter. This cruise is also brand new, and today it's on its first cruise in between New York City and Boston on the Long Island Sound. So today the ship called in New London, and we made the NBC local news. These small towns, Old Saybrook, New London, Mystic, are so excited to have a cruise, even though it's a small cruise ship, call into port. On the news, they were saying that they are so excited to meet people from all over coming into these little towns on the Long Island Sound. And if you haven't been, they're absolutely beautiful. New England, Old Saybrook, New London, Mystic, Connecticut, Newport, they just quaint, charming old towns. Really, really beautiful, with lovely little gift shops and little cafes, and a lot of lighthouses and a real maritime history, really quite special. So, and as you can see, we also stopped in Port Jefferson, Sag Harbor, in Newport, which is their next port of call. They're going to be visiting the Avenue of the Mansions, and then they're going to be arriving in historic Plymouth Harbor. This is, of course, where the first colonists landed, Plymouth Rock. So these guests will be approaching that rock from the water, as did those colonists hundreds of years ago. And then they end in Boston, right in the heart of Boston for this cruise. So we're very excited about that. Our Complete Southeast is great for your clients that have a little bit more time. It's 22 days and quite an adventure to sail the entire intracoastal waterway all the way down the East Coast. It's so beautiful and it's so tranquil being on this protected part of water. At times they will see beautiful mansions with private docks on either side of the ship. And then other times it'll be nothing but nature. Nothing but seagrass and little islands with trees on it, and just some wonderful ports of call. Wilmington, North Carolina. We visit the site where the Wright brothers took flight. Charleston, South Carolina. I don't need to say anything about it. It's just steeped in history and culture. Savannah, St. Augustine, of course, the oldest city in America. Port Canaveral, West Palm Beach, Key Biscayne, Key West, before ending in St. Petersburg. Another new one this year was our Tennessee Rivers cruises, and this one is 8 days, Nashville to Chattanooga, or the reverse. And this itinerary cruises through the Tennessee Valley with a stunning natural backdrop of the Appalachian Mountains. Of course, in Nashville, we visit the Grand Ole Opry and Johnny Cash and Patsy Cline Museum. So Really an incredible cruise that dives, deep into some of the regional history in our country. And it is an example for this, and there are a couple other cruises. We are giving our guests the option to add on a visit to a national park and to do it in one seamless trip. So this year we added on for Tennessee Rivers, the Smoky Mountains National Park. And as you can see here, there are others as well, like our national, just see if I can, sorry, there's a delay in the, there we go, delay in the slide. You can also add on national parks to our Columbia and Snake Rivers cruise. So theoretically, you could cruise for a week on the Columbia and Snake Rivers, and then with our adventure guides on our coaches, we will take guests to Glacier National Park, Grand Teton, and Yellowstone. So one seamless package, and then we bring them to the airport in Jackson Hole. Same with Alaska. We can do Denali and Kenai, and then we bring our guests to meet the ship to do one of two cruises. There's two options there. So really exciting. These national parks sold out. National Parks and Legendary Rivers sold out for 2024 almost immediately. They were very high demand. And in case you're wondering what's included in the national parks portion, well, it's our adventure guides that are with our guests through the entire journey. It includes all the accommodations, the transportations to the parks, the entrance fees, and curated experiences within the parks. All the meals are included, and then transportation to the airport at the conclusion of the package, and at the beginning if they're starting in Jackson, Wyoming. So now on to who sails with us. Well, our demographic is 60 plus, retired, semi-retired. They are certainly well educated and affluent or semi-affluent. They have a love of learning, a love of life, and they want to continue to learn. And many of them have traveled the world and are excited to get to learn a little bit more about our incredible country and visit some of these places themselves by water. So if you have European river cruises or ocean cruisers, I think these could be a really great option for them to try to cruise closer to home, especially European. If they love the style of European river cruises, they'll find such a similarity right here in their own backyard. We get a lot of couples. We also get single travelers. I mentioned that we do have single solo fares available. We do get a lot of multi-generational groups. This is the grandparents traveling with their children and grandchildren. And we get a lot of just groups in general. We've seen sewing groups where groups have brought sewing machines on board, and while they're sailing, they're learning a new stitch, or knitting groups. They're doing some classes, and then they do excursions when we're in port. We've seen a lot of wine groups, a lot of history groups, gaming groups, people that like to play certain games like mahjong or cards. So we get quite a lot of, and country clubs and yacht clubs, a lot of sort of social groups of people that like to travel together. Before I let you go, I wanted to just mention we do have a sister company called Pearl Seas Cruises, and they're owned by the same company. They have a ship. We have a ship up in Canada that sails Atlantic Canada, the St. Lawrence Seaway, and the Great Lakes. And the ship is called Pearl Mist. And here it is. It was refurbished in 2023. It can carry 210 guests. It's fully stabilized, and it has 6 lounges, and also boasts this beautiful coastal contemporary decor. So we've got, it moves around Atlantic Canada and the Great Lakes, and there are a variety of cruises of different lengths. visiting the region. We get asked a lot, especially at Cruise 360, do we go to Mackinac Island? Yes, we do. Niagara Falls is also on a lot of our itineraries. So if you have clients that have expressed interest in the Great Lakes, I suggest a visit to Pearl Seas Cruises website and have a look at the various cruises that are available. So, and then I just wanted to say thank you so much. And if there are any questions, I'm happy to stick around and answer as many as I can.
Hi, Melissa. It's Joe here. Thank you for all the information that you've shared about Pearl Sea Cruises and American Cruise Lines, of course. We did have a few questions. Would it be possible to go back to the domestic airfare promotion that you all are adding to bookings now, or the agents are able to add to bookings? And we can see your screen here, so you can go to the PowerPoint.
Okay, let me see if I can get that up here again. Okay, so this was the flat air. Is that what we're talking about, the flat air?
Yep, but it looks like we are on your other screen right now.
You are, okay, thank you. Sorry about that. Let's see here.
There we
Okay,
go.
sorry.
No, you're okay. And just
so it's
while you're pulling that slide up, one of our attendees had a question regarding that promotion. Is that airfare cost for round trip or one way?
Round trip.
Round trip, that's great to hear. And just to piggyback off of that, they are also wondering, do the flights leave from the final port city for them to go home, or does it bring them back to where they started, where they departed from?
Well, most of depends on the cruise. So if it's a round trip Washington, D.C., then the air would be in and out of Washington, D.C. If it were New Orleans to Memphis, the air would be into New Orleans and out of Memphis, and our air department would time it so that they're arriving at an appropriate time on the ship, that they're not going to miss anything, and so on. And if guests wanted to deviate from the schedule, say they had family they wanted to spend extra time, we could also book dates as they would like. So let's say our cruise ends on the 5th of the month, but they want to stay the weekend, we could do the air for the 7th.
Okay, so it is completely customizable, so they are able to change the length of their trip. It doesn't have to go with the itinerary of Memphis to New Orleans.
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay, great. That's great flexibility. One person here, they're asking, is it per person for airfare? Is there a group price? And if the flat fee airfare also covers itineraries for Alaska?
So that flat rate air is for the lower 48 only. So that doesn't include Alaska. Alaska would be priced separately. And there is no groups can take advantage of our flat rate air, but there's no better deal available for groups. They could just take advantage of our existing $495 per person.
Perfect. And let me just sort through our questions here. I did see that there was another question regarding groups. They're asking, are there opportunities to hold group events such as a birthday celebration or a meeting or weddings specifically?
Absolutely. And those ships that I pointed out, these little coastal cats, are, I'm just going to see if I can navigate to that slide. They are 55 cabins, 100 guests. I mean, that could be really nice for a wedding. We do charters. So if somebody wanted to charter one of those small ships, one of these ones here, if you could see my cursor, one of these coastal cats, at that point, they could then tweak the itinerary. Maybe they do a wedding that's New England harbor hopping, but they want to spend a little longer in a port of call, or they want to add on something else or change something else. We could work with them to see if we could do that. And generally we can, as long as it's possible from a operational standpoint. They can then tweak it. So there's that possibility. And yes, we do have a groups department. Aside from the charters, we can quote for groups, and absolutely for people to celebrate a birthday. Any groups with us would have a private cocktail party on board as well. So, we could, do something for a group, to celebrate, whatever the occasion is.
Perfect. And how much ahead of time should our travel agents let your team know if they have a client that does need an accommodation like that for a special event?
So are they already booked and they just are having
Sure.
a
Let's go with
birthday,
already
or?
booked, and then they let them know, hey, we'd like to have just a small, we'll just say big birthday celebration.
Yeah, I think the sooner the better. Certainly because we will let the ship know, and I suppose much depends on how many people are in the booking. If is this like an existing group already
Is
that's
there a
already booked?
minimum like number for groups? What is the minimum room for to be considered a group?
Okay, so at the moment it's 10 guests, 5 cabins is the minimum to be considered a group.
Perfect. And there was a few questions here regarding life on board for kids specifically, but I think it would be very beneficial if we just went over, I guess, your favorite activities to do on board, Melissa.
Yeah, so for kids specifically, um, I think it's suitable. It really depends on the child and their level of interest. This is more of a culturally and historical immersive experience. So I think for kids that are middle school, or maybe ages 10, 11 and up, have had enough US history at school, and if they're interested in it, I think it could be really wonderful. We don't have any activities specifically geared toward children. So there's not a pool or or video game console or things like that. But if children are happy playing cards, playing board games, watching the evening's entertainment, and then during the day when they're doing the excursions, they'll be very happy exploring all these places. Some of our excursions, could be more active. That would include, hiking or kayaking or, things like that. So I think that's sort of the best way to look at it from a children's perspective. Some of my favorite things to do on board is I love the sailing aspect of it. But to be honest, I want to learn to sail myself as an adult. I love sitting on the sun deck. I was sailing into Savannah in December, and I saw dolphins just outside, just right in front of me. And every time I took my camera out to take a picture of them, they disappeared. It was like they were like toying with me.
They knew
Dolphins here,
that you were
dolphins.
watching.
Yeah, and so I just love sitting out there seeing the wildlife like that, the dolphins. I was shot at by, well, I wasn't shot at, but there was forts sometimes shoot a blank cannon at 12 noon as a, demonstration for their guests. Happened to be sailing by at that moment. And so I felt like I was shot at, which was very exciting. And then I love the sailing aspect. I love watching our captain navigate into marinas, because we don't dock at cruise ship terminals. We either dock right along the river or in a very small marina. So I love watching the deckhands jump out, tie up the ship, the gangway go down. I love the whole sailing aspect of it, visiting the pilot house. That would be my favorite on board. And then I love history. So I feel really grateful that I've got to visit so many places that are of historical significance in this country, and I'd like to visit even more. So I love, like, for example, again in Savannah, I went to the Andrew Lowe Museum, which is where Girl Scouts was founded, and their head office is to this day. But just to learn how Girl Scouts came to be in this country, and to think about how many girls and women, myself included, were once a Girl Scout, and how it affected us. And, it's really quite touching, and to get to actually see where this person lived and learn that she spent half of her year in Scotland, and that's where she picked it up from the UK. They already had that organization there, and she brought it to America and dedicated so much of her time to cultivating it, and that it still exists impacting women today. So that was really exciting to see those things come to life. And there's so many more of them. Like just for example, the Derby. I watched the Derby this weekend because I've been to the Derby, because we take our guests to the Derby, and I learned so much about it, so much about. That was probably annoying to my family this weekend. I said to my husband, "Do you know that jockeys with all their equipment cannot exceed 126 pounds?" Because we were, talking about it.
You're
Because
learning
I
all
was
the
just,
facts about our history, all the little details. That's great to
yeah.
know that is like a cultural immersion, definitely.
Yeah, and you appreciate things as they come up more often because you've been there, you understand, where the race came from, and why they have a certain pomp and ceremony, and it just sort of brings everything to life, and it stays with you.
No, I completely agree. And just to stay on the topic of all these great excursions that American Cruise Lines offers the guests at port, so off, are those led by American Cruise Line staff or crew members, or are guests able to kind of do their self-guided tour, pick their excursions, and kind of go off on their own?
Exactly. So we've got a wonderful director of guest experiences, and he curates all of these experiences. So guests can cherry pick. So we work with partners on the ground to do these various experiences, and people can choose to do whichever one they want. There are multiple choices at any given time, but they can also choose to do none of them and go off on their own or organize their own thing. Maybe they just want to walk around and do some shopping, or maybe there's something they know that they're particularly interested in that's not on one of the excursions. So they really have the full independence to do however much or as little as they like. And the other thing I love about it, that it's not often that we tender. It can happen, but it's not often. So as soon as we arrive in a port or alongside of a river, the gangway goes down, and guests can just stroll off and go for a little walk and then come back and have dinner if they, like they just have complete independence to just come and go as they like, which I think is really adds to the enjoyment.
No, that's wonderful to hear that they have the flexibility to kind of explore the port how they understand it or they would like to. And if they choose, let's say they do choose one of the itineraries for the excursions that you all offer them, are those included in their package? Do they have to add on, or is it an extra cost?
So some are included, we call them featured, and then some are extra. So they'll know on any given itinerary it'll say on their excursions if it's complimentary, if it's $10, $20. We don't, in their guest portal, when they see their excursions, we make it really clear for them. All the excursions are in one place, they can sign up for, and they'll know what's included because it'll be listed as complimentary, but we still ask that they sign up for it, giving intent that that's what they want to do that day. And then they'll see the price of everything. And we don't upcharge them at all. I myself looked at some of them when I was in a destination. We just do it as a service to our guests. So they could, if they wanted to do something on their own, like say they wanted to say, well, what would a horse-drawn carriage ride be? What's exactly what we're charging? They can see that it's, if they were to go on their phone and look up something like that, that it's the same. And then once a guest becomes Eagle Society, which is a repeat guest, we actually, as a perk of that, they get the premium excursions complimentary. So, eventually, the excursions will be included, except for those signature ones, like a seaplane ride over the Dry Tortugas. There might still be a few that are extra, but all the premium ones then become included for those loyal guests as well.
Perfect. And I love how the more you travel with American Cruise Lines, the more they get to experience when you guys are at port. So that's great to hear that is how, or that is the benefit of becoming, what did you call it, an
Eagle Society member. Eagle Society is our loyalty program. And just on that, Joe, I should have mentioned, but when guests travel with us on the cruise, they will be offered a discount if they want to cruise again with us. So if they if they book while they're on board, they get a 15% discount on a future cruise. It can be anywhere. And what we do is if it's a travel advisor booking, the travel advisor on file automatically gets the commission for that booking. So when I was at CLIA 360, a travel advisor came up to our booth and said, I got a booking while I was sleeping last night because I woke up this morning and I got a notice from you all that her clients rebooked on board. She has the commission. So I like to point it out because we have so many different options that it's quite easy for a guest to then say, oh, next time we'll do the Colombian snake. And then after that, let's do New England. And, you know, it could just be like a perennial booking for travel advisors, you know, all the upside without, you know, not terribly too much work.
And I think that that is a great thing, right? Because then the travel agents, like she said, she was sleeping and she got commission. And so just to clarify on that, is it if let's say I booked with a travel agent, I rebook while I'm on board, so she or he gets that commission. And then on that second one, if I rebook again, is that also commission back to the travel agent?
Exactly, it is, because we feel like if a travel advisor sends us a client, we have to honor, you know, that every single time. So they do. It goes on and on.
It's great, and it's a great way for clients to really fall in love with everything that American Cruise Lines has to offer. And so I guess here we have just a couple more minutes, Melissa, if you want to just share any last tidbits that you want our audience to go away with today, or share where they can sign up for if there's an online portal where they should go if they have clients already in mind that are ready to book.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say if you're not like tuning into this demographic and this segment of the travel industry, I would. It's a growing demographic, the 60 plus, and we are seeing a really big demand for staying closer to home. It's everything from expensive airfare to difficulty getting over jet lag and to having been very well traveled. We're really seeing that. So it's something to definitely tune into. And I would recommend going to our website. There's a travel advisor portal. Everything has just been updated on it. So we have new training modules, a certification exam. There's images and digital brochures, our groups department contact information and the group's policy. Everything is there. It's all been up to date. And then, of course, use our cruise specialists. They are so knowledgeable. You know, they're so you know, great to work with. You know, call them up and ask them questions. Like, for example, this Four Seasons pre-night I mentioned as a promotion, you can call them up and say, I have clients interested in the lower Mississippi. What dates is that Four Seasons promotion available? You know, and they'll be able to have a look on a chart and tell you. So definitely reach out and you know, ask us for help. We're here. We really want to help and work together with you.
Thank you so much for your time today, Melissa. And I just want to thank you and American Cruise Lines for putting together this presentation for all of our attendees today. And we hope that you have a great rest of the week, and we will see you on the next one.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of your day.